Welcome to Monday morning and the MindBody Reset little webinar that we have this morning. Now, this morning's topic is really exciting. It is on moving and ways to keep moving, or ways when you're stuck to actually move. And we're going to break it down because there's a whole heap of reasons why we choose not to move, and I'd really love to go through that with you. So jump on in, let me know who's here, just pop a little comment and say hello, and just a reminder that this talk will be made available for educational purposes and potentially used elsewhere. So just bearing that in mind. So ways to keep moving. So the question that was posted this week that I thought was a really good one was, let me read through the question. Looking for ways to stay active or keep moving when I'm working at a computer. I know that I should keep moving as I feel a lot better, but I don't always prioritize it. That sounds so familiar, doesn't it? I know that it sounds familiar to me because I like to work and I really enjoy working. And so, to move for me when I'm working is sort of breaking that cycle or that pattern and that focus and that zone that I'm in. But there's reasons that we do this. So I wanted to break this question down into, or this question statement down into two sections, because I think it's looking for ways to stay active and keep moving when I'm at my desk or computer. And then the other side of it is, but I don't always prioritize it. So there's the what actions can you take in terms of what things can you do from a movement perspective. And then there's I'm actually choosing not to take those actions, because a lot of people know what actions to take or what to do. So, some just moving away from your computer or standing up or whatnot, going for a walk, but we choose not to do it. And it's about understanding why we're not choosing to do it. So let me know if that resonates. Pop comments below. And again, if you've just jumped on, let me know who's there, say hello, and let me know if this topic resonates with you as well. So in terms of prioritizing it, I've kind of broken it down into kind of 5 steps or 5 stages that you can work through before we get to the ways of how you can be active. So in terms of not prioritizing it, the first concept is to note that this is actually a behaviour and a pattern. So this is a pattern that that you've created or that you've fallen into, that your body's fallen into, in terms of making the choice time and time and time again when you're working at your desk or your computer to stay there and to not actually get up and move and do that movement. So to realize that this is a behavior and this is a pattern, and behaviors and patterns obviously can change. We can all change them. So there's a reason behind it, and there's a pattern, and it's breaking that pattern and cycle, or can be breaking that pattern cycle. So number 2 is then to have a look at what is actually the underlying root cause. What is the reason for you having this behavior of not moving, and the pattern? What is the underlying root cause of this particular pattern? So if you have a pen and paper handy, you might want to write these down, or obviously you have access to watch this later on. But some questions that you might ask yourself might be these, and just see if something sits or resonates with you when you just have a gut feeling that, yep, that's it. Because it might be at a conscious level or a subconscious level in terms of this pattern. So, does it feel safe to do this? Does it feel safe to get up and move? Number 2 is it too hard? Is your body, is your brain, is your nervous system saying it is too hard to move and to change? Number 3 is the reward not big enough? So is the reward bigger for you to sit at your desk and computer, or is the reward bigger for you to exercise, move, stay active? And I would imagine because you're sitting at your desk, then it is the reward isn't big enough in terms of doing the active and the moving. So the next one is, what are the consequences of me staying, and what are the consequences of me moving? So again, maybe jot those down, see what comes up. You don't, just whatever comes up in terms of, don't spend too long thinking about it, just whatever comes to mind. And if you're not sure, just guess. Guessing is really, really powerful, because sometimes then we get too caught up in our mind about things and we're like, oh, well, I don't know from a conscious level. Just guess. So what are the consequences of staying? What are the consequences of not moving? The other one is, ask yourself this question, because we're talking about prioritizing here in terms of I don't always prioritize it, is do I deserve to prioritize me? So do I deserve to prioritize me? And that might be a really big and powerful one. It might be that there's a part of you that feels like you don't deserve to be prioritized. And then I think potentially this one might come into play as well, is do I need to stay at my desk to work hard? You know, is moving for myself and keeping active while I'm working, does that mean that I'm not working hard? So is there a part of me that feels that if I move, I'm not working hard? And, you know, I'm not working hard enough for my job or my employer. I know actually in sort of writing these and putting them down this morning, this one really resonated with me personally, because, you know, I've always worked. I didn't feel like I was good enough at work, no matter how much I put in, no matter how much I tried. I found it hard to pick up on things, and I was slow at doing things and coordinating things. So I always thought that I had to overcompensate and I had to work harder, and I wasn't allowed to have breaks. So for most of my working career, I didn't have lunch breaks and I worked extra because I felt like I needed to work harder to compensate. So see if that resonates with you. Another question to ask to get to an underlying root cause is to do with time. Like, is it that you feel like you don't have enough time to exercise or to stay active or to move? So just recapping those, looking at the underlying root cause is in relation to safety. Does it feel safe? Is it too hard to move and be active? Is the reward not big enough? What are the consequences? Do I deserve to prioritize me? Do I need to work hard? And therefore moving is not working hard? And do I have enough time? Is it a time constraint? So again, pop the comments in, let me know if there's one of those that resonates with you, or there might be several that resonate with you. Bear with me 1 second, I just have to close the door here. There was a little bit of noise, I think that was coming from outside. So let me know your feedback in that regard. So we've identified initially that there's a pattern and behaviour that can be changed, looking at the underlying root cause. And then part of the underlying root cause and some of the reasons behind it is kind of, I guess, a little bit of a next stage, which is the benefit. Is there a benefit for you staying still, for working at your computer? Is there a benefit to doing that? Because that benefit is going to be stronger than the benefit of moving and being active. So again, step number 3 is identify, is there a benefit to not moving? Okay, so then we come to step 4, which I'm calling flip it. Step 4 is about flipping it. So once you identify your root cause, once you identify the benefits of it, it's to flip it, to flip those concepts. So maybe on a piece of paper, you can do like a half-half, or like a bit of a booklet, you know, like a bit of a half-half. On one side, you have the underlying root cause or the benefit or the benefits, because there might actually be several. And then on the other side, pop the flip it. And so the flip it is going to be an affirmation or a statement, which is the opposite to that. So say, for example, it's, I don't deserve to prioritize me. Then come up with an affirmation that really resonates with you. And it might be, I deserve to prioritize me, and I deserve to do that by moving during the day while I'm working. So come up with some opposites, some flips in terms of, you know, affirmations and statements. So this is very much a mindset and behavior change strategy. So it's kind of, you know, when I start to talk about a lot, the brain, top-down and bottom-up approaches. So this is like a top-down approach where you're looking at your mindset, the words that you're using, and your behavior to try and change the pattern. And also let your body know that it's okay to exercise and it's okay to move. So maybe, jot these down, and then when it happens, or several times a day, maybe start with these as your affirmations and just repeat them to yourself ongoing. Now, the affirmations also have to be something that is in what we call alignment with you, something that feels and sits right with you. If you read the affirmation, you're like, that just seems so far-fetched from where I'm at, then create something else. Something that might be even just a really small change or a really small shift. You might need to move it in stages, because if you say an affirmation that is the opposite, but it's so much of an opposite that you just like, this does not feel right, then when you say it, the body's actually going to focus on that, and it can make that affirmation even stronger in terms of like the negative side, and rewire the opposite to what you're trying to wire. Okay, so step number 4 is to flip it. And step number 5, which is my favorite. So rather than using the top-down approach, which is the mind and behavior, using the bottom-up approach in terms of using EFT and tapping. So if you're familiar with EFT and tapping, go ahead and, create some beautiful statements about, even though I don't prioritize me and it feels like this, I accept myself and how I feel. Might be an example. So this is another brain-based approach that's also using the nervous system. It's reducing the stress hormone, and it's also body-based. So we're using the brain and the body to feel, sense, and to be able to process. So this is probably the biggest strategy, or where you'll get the most gains in terms of potentially also being able to break some of those things down and break some of those layers. And probably the quickest way in terms of being able to flip it. So doing the tapping or the EFT is a really quick way to flip it from exactly how you're feeling. And so you actually have those concepts there to use. And then once you've flipped it with the EFT or the tapping, then you can do the positive aspects. So tap through all of those negative aspects. When they're down to a 0 or you don't feel like they resonate with you anymore, then use the flip it concepts, because you'll be able to say those and they'll be able to resonate more because you've actually been able to process the layers of those underlying root causes. So let me know if that makes sense, and I'll just break it down again. So we've got the 5 steps and stages of prioritizing, working out why you're not prioritizing you, to then be able to move into doing some exercise or moving away from your computer, or staying active, keeping active and moving when it's going to benefit you. So in terms of working out why you're not prioritizing it for yourself, step number 1 is to realize that this is a pattern and this is a behavior and it can be changed. Step number 2 is to work out what the underlying root cause is. And so it could be to do with safety, not being heard,
the reward being big enough or not? What are the consequences? Do you deserve to prioritize you? Is it too much hard work to move? And time. And also, I said too much hard work to move, but I actually meant, do you need to work hard by staying at your desk and not moving? And is that what your brain and body's trying to tell you? Step number 3 is the benefit. What is the benefit for you not moving and not being active and staying at your desk? Number 4 is to flip it, to find the opposite. So using that mindset and behavior change approach. Once you have identified some of the root causes, identify some affirmations, and then from those affirmations, break them down in terms of the ones that resonate with you the most and that you feel connected with, and use those and say those regularly. And then to move on to the next stage, once you've got the foundations, which is work on some tapping cycles or some EFT cycles. Because as I said, that's a brain-based and nervous system and a body approach, as opposed to the flipping it and saying those affirmations is just a mindset approach. So that's a mindset and behavior, whereas the EFT goes so much deeper into the brain, into the nervous system, and into the body. And so if you're unsure about how to do the tapping process, I do have a really cheap program that's available, and I'll include the link below. That talks you through and how to guide you through 3.5 hours worth of talks and handouts in relation to how to do the tapping cycle and process for yourself. So you can do that personally, and then also there's the potential that you might need to do it professionally in terms of if you can't get out of that cycle, because sometimes working on ourselves can be really challenging and really difficult, but the help of a practitioner can help you get there really quickly. So that is part number 1 of ways to stay active in terms of I don't always prioritize it. So it's why am I not prioritizing it, and breaking that down so that you can prioritize it. Again, let me know if this resonates and if there's particular concepts in here that really sit well with you. Now, I then wanted to talk about the ways that you can stay active, or the ways that you can move at your desk, and I guess some little known ways that you can move and add that movement to your day. So I'll start off with the common ones. So the common ones are obviously things like walking, or going to the gym, or going for a run, or doing some yoga. They're the ones that generally people say, hey, you can do this. I mean, we know walking is really good for us. So I also wanted to explain, when you are sitting still, or when you're working and when you're at your desk, your energy is not moving. Your whole energy field, you're here, you're writing, you're tapping, you're often very much in your head, because that's what you're doing, and you're not in your body, you're not grounded, and your energy is not moving. We know that walking or running gets the blood moving, it gets things happening in the body, but when you're still, it doesn't move. So any kind of movement is going to create activation in the body. And get the blood pumping, get thoughts moving and flowing. So the one thing that you can do is just anything that involves moving from where you currently are. So let's break it down and keep it simple. So it might be that you start with that, small little movements and small little steps. So it might be you're here at your desk, at your computer, and that small movement might be looking away. So looking somewhere consciously to create that and start that movement. Because sometimes you might be stuck in that process, and just that small little movement can actually then, because we know that the eyes impact the brain, so that small movement activates the brain and new neurons to do different things. So it might be, oh, okay, something else is actually possible for me. So number 1 is move the eyes. Number 2 is the figure 8. So I'm just have my hands together. You can do it, any way. Hands like that or like that. But just draw a figure 8, or it might be you just do it with one hand. So again, figure 8 changes the patterning in the brain and your energy flow and movement. So you can do a figure 8 with your hand up,
down to the floor, around. You know, you can do, not going to kind of fit here, but it's kind of figure eights like this with your whole hand. You can do figure eights with your feet. So I've got both of them under the floor going like that. Or you could do one at a time as a figure eight. You could stand up and do like a bit of a figure eight with your hips. And that's going to get the brain moving. It's going to get the energy flowing, because as I said, when we're sitting here, our energy is kind of flowing in one direction. We need it to start flowing in other directions. So any kind of movement, eyes, figure eight is really beautiful. Two more, shaking. So any kind of shaking gets the body moving, gets the energy flowing, gets the blood vessels moving, which is obviously what we want to do as well. So you can do that at your desk and just, I'm just shaking my feet like this. You can stand up and shake. I love shaking. I love involuntary shaking, which is something that again is really good for the nervous system. So we know that shaking and shaking medicine is really beneficial. Excuse me, it's been around for in healing in so many different ancient and traditional cultures for so many years, because it really helps and supports the nervous system. And I'll talk about shaking, I'm sure, another time, because we can do a whole talk on shaking. And the other one is creating heaven. It's called creating heaven and earth, or it's creating space. So again, when you're at your desk and you're not active, then there's not a lot of space in your body because it's here and it's not moving. So this exercise allows you to create that space and that energetic space. So what you're going to do is you're going to stand up. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this here because I didn't quite set this up correctly. So you're going to stretch your hand out. So you're going to be straight, but I'll just show you. So your hand will be straight up and your bottom hand is going to be straight down. And so you take a breath in and breathing out, and standing up and push up to the ceiling and down to the floor as much as you can. And then breathing in and breathing out. Stretch up, up, up and down to the floor. Back together. So what it starts to do is it starts to create space and movement in your body. So you're connecting down to the ground and up to the sky. You feel it in your back. I know I feel it very much in my back because I'm kind of working like this. And it just creates that nice stretch. And doing it with the hands, again, it just creates that energetic space as well. So while you're doing this, let me know if you have any feedback, if you feel the change or shift. Yeah. So that creates that long space. And look, if you want to as well, you can do the same thing sideways as well. And do that nice and slowly. So I'm just about to wrap up. Let me know if you have any feedback, any comments, whether there's any particular strategies here that resonate with you and whether the process we've been through today, again, resonates. So just to recap, it was looking at ways to stay active, keep moving when I'm at work at a computer, and I know I should keep moving as I feel a lot better, but I don't always prioritize it. So as we said, it's breaking it down into two parts. One is the why you're not prioritizing and working on that concept of being able to prioritize it. And then there's the other aspect, which is the actual ways to stay active that are different from, you know, the yoga and the walks and the meditations and the runs and things like that. They are all beneficial and they are all fantastic. I just thought I would throw some creative ones in there. So when we talk about prioritizing it, we know that it's a pattern and a behavior that can be changed. Looking at the underlying root cause, looking at the concepts of safety, too hard, the reward not being big enough, what are the consequences? Do I deserve to prioritize me? Do I need to work hard and not move my body? Do I not have enough time to do this? Then number 3 is having a look at the benefits. So what is the benefit of not being active? Number 4 is going through that stage of flipping it. So looking at that mindset and behavior change in terms of looking at the concepts that resonate with you and what is the flip it affirmations. And then saying and repeating those affirmations from a mindset and behavior perspective to help you change and integrate that. And then number 5 is doing some tapping, that brain-based, nervous system, body-based approach to actually have some of those shifts really quickly so that you can actually say some of those positive affirmations. So you can do that personally, professionally. I've got a course that you can work through to teach you how to do that, to make sure that you're actually saying the right things, tapping on the right spots and getting the results. And then the ways that you can stay active, which are shaking, creating heaven and earth with that space, figure eights, and looking elsewhere. So just moving the eyes as that basic movement. And it might be that basic movement of moving your eyes to a spot might then trigger you to go, oh, okay, I really enjoy yoga. I'm going to be able to go and do my yoga now. So I hope this was useful. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week or during the week for another MindBody Reset workshop. And let me know if you have any particular topics that you would like some support and guidance on, and we can work those through in the similar style. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.